Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach. So I saw something interesting happen with my Star Trek Discovery videos. They did not really that good for various reasons. But then suddenly they started doing good. It's like somebody started watching them and then sharing them and they caught on. So it looks like there's a good amount to do a video for every single episode. So I watched last night. I watched one episode and a short trek yesterday, and then I couldn't wait till the next day, so I watched another one. Stayed up really late. I saw Runaway of a short trek, and then I saw season 1, episode 2, Battle at the Binary Stars. So, in order of me watching it, Runaway was pretty much the reason for the title of this video. Runaway was good and terrible at the same time. It was definitely the worst of the short treks, for reasons which I will say right now. So Runaway is about Tilly on an empty set because short treks were shot at on a budget, and there's a whole long corporate shenanigan reason the short treks. The short treks were basically a short trick where they were going to shoot some extras for really low money and then try to get a good amount from Netflix that they would use to help fund season 2 instead. Netflix just completely rejected them because they were pissed about the season 1 reaction. So they were basically made for no reason, and then they just got tacked on for the season 2. The one with Naru was okay. The one called Calypso was excellent, probably should be award winning. And this one was just not even like a long dramatic sigh, more like just a short one. So the problem with this one is that it's very poorly written and it relies almost entirely on a very, very old style of humor. Basically, the Joss Whedon style of humor from 1996. Buffy, whatever season 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is. And that's everything. So, in this one actually had the most people out of any of the short treks. It only had 2 speaking roles, but at one point there was up to 6 or 7 extras. And I mean for like 2 shots of like 7 seconds each. But the cargo bay is being decontaminated, so everyone has to leave. Good reason to get people off the set to make it empty. And then something amazing happens. There's one of those shipping containers, and inside is a humanoid alien. To which you just go, don't they scan these things? Okay, fine, whatever. It was there was shielding in there, so it appeared to be something, and there was a person in there. So then Tilly is, I believe, she's on the night shift. Oh my gosh, it sounds so much stupider. They say something like 5th shift is starting, and I'm like, what is 5th shift? Most shifts I know of are there's 3 shifts. 3 8-hour shifts or 2 12. I believe on what do you call it? STNG, they used to talk about 12-hour shifts. And then usually Data would take the night shift since he didn't need to sleep. So I was like, what is 5th shift? Are they each doing like 4-hour shifts, or do they have some, day? Because I've heard from circadian rhythms that human beings like naturally need to have some kind of rhythm of a 24-hour day. Anyway, for things that make no sense, in space, Tilly is working the night shift, even though it's always night because you're in space. There's no daytime. But we get a call from her mom, and this thing was also... So there's this weird thing about TV where people grow up watching something and seeing it over and over and over again. And then... it never happens in their real life, but they've seen it happen in TV so much, it's almost as if it happened real. So when they grow up and they become TV writers, they write that thing that basically only happens, or mostly only happens, on TV. So Tilly is in the command program which she tells everyone as soon as she meets them, which is fine. And then her mom, which is like this 1970s haranguing mother, is like, oh, I don't think you're ready for the leadership program. And then she's like, and then they hang up, and Tilly literally flops and sighs on her bed like a teenager. She then goes to the completely empty chow hall. Nobody's up for a midnight snack. Oh, wait, there's no midnight because there's no night. Amazingly, it's empty. And then all of the food dispensers start shooting food at her, and then she meets her new best friend. So I do a lot of comic reviews, and I talk about SJW characters and storylines and creators. And there's a couple tropes with women. Is that all women are friends. Women are always going to talk about food, and all women love the science. Now, a couple of these are not a big deal because it's Star Trek. Pretty much everyone loves science. But this character, okay, so first we meet this character who's completely feral seeming. And then Tilly has no actual human emotions. What she has are Joss Whedon character reactions, which are a bunch of quips, which aren't really that funny. Being scared, but like play scared. I mean, the woman's name is Poe, and she's pretty feral, and she has like spikes on her back, and Tilly's just kind of, I don't know, mildly. She kind of reacts as if this is like a mildly scary looking homeless person, where it's someone on a ship, a stowaway, who is feral and has spikes popping out of her back. Like, she should be a lot more scared, but in my opinion, because they're both female, it's like, oh, this is my new best friend. So they start talking. They both love the science. They do a lot of really, really cheesy food jokes. And then we find out that she's a refugee, except for she's not a refugee. She's actually a queen of a planet that she's as old as, which Tilly even points out, it makes no sense that you're as old as your planet. And then it's kind of just accepted that that's really true. Now, this woman is some kind of shape changer, so maybe she's literally a rock that achieves sentience, while the planet was forming, and then she can take these humanoid forms. But it turns out that this is basically a space Disney princess. Her family and her brother were killed, so she's the queen, but there's a lot of pressure to be queen, so she ran away to a starship just to leave, because of a catharsis that never really happens. The best thing I can say is that both of the actresses were very personable and charismatic, which leads to something I need to respond to. So like I said, I usually do comic book reviews, and I really hit bad stories, specifically social justice warrior stories. And a lot of people have gotten on to me. They say, there are things happening in these episodes that if they happened in a comic book, you would be destroying it. And here's the difference. Comic book characters, drawings, they can't have charisma or charm of an actor. An actor can sell some really badly written dialogue. An actor can charm you into not noticing gigantic plot holes. This thing is 18 minutes, and it's like 15 minutes of plot holes. So overall, it was very cheesy. It hit a lot of the tropes I didn't like, but both of the actors came off well. Moving on to the main episode, Battle at the Binary Stars. So this one, again, I love. Now, one of the things I loved about it is the running time for the episode was 38 minutes. And I know you might think it's strange that I really, really like that a hour-long adventure show is almost a half hour long, but I've done reviews of the Netflix Marvel series, and I keep saying one of the things that drives me crazy is how padded all of the episodes are. There are 50, 52, 55. I saw one Luke Cage was like 1 hour and 4 minutes, and most of them did not have the plot necessary for, first of all, that many episodes for the season and that long. It seems like because this is a really expensive show, at least the beginning of season 1 is really expensive. I just realized that the season 2 episode 2 is probably really, really cheap. They're like in a farmhouse. But this one looks pretty much like a movie. So this one is dealing with the attempted mutiny of Burnham at the end of episode 1. Now, one of the huge hits against Star Trek Discovery season 1 is that Burnham is a bad officer. She tried to mutiny. She's violent, but I feel like there are massively extenuating circumstances. By the way, I kept saying that Burnham was from a human Klingon science colony, and I said it like 5 times in the last video. Human Vulcan science colony. So anyway, the extenuating circumstances are Burnham's parents were killed in an attack by Klingons. One of the only appearances of Klingons to any non-Klingon race for 100 years. So, I mean, just imagine if like no one had seen anyone from the Canary Islands for 100 years, and then they popped up, killed your parents, and then 20 years later you saw someone from the Canary Islands. You're like, oh my gosh, freak it out. And she also had, so she had emotional trauma, PTSD. She also had a concussion, and she had extreme radiation poisoning. So if she was acting a little off, that would all be extremely mitigating factors. Spoiler, plot twist, she's sentenced to life in prison at the end of it. So what happens is the Federation arrives, and so it's like 24 Klingon ships for each of the 24 houses of the Klingon race. And then I think a pretty much equal amount of Starfleet ships showed up. And this is where it just got really dumb, because this is one of those things that took forever. A bunch of Enterprises, whatever, Nimitz class ships and ships of that similar size, a bunch of Enterprise size ships against a bunch of Klingon ships, and they're all really, really close. I mean, one of the things is I've never seen starships so close in Star Trek. Like, at one point, they're like a kilometer away from each other. So they all start firing, which, of course, they all start getting destroyed because these aren't like Imperial Star Destroyers. They're starships from the Federation. They're not made for heavy bombardments. So my point is that stuff like this didn't happen until like the mid to late 90s in the very, very end of STNG. So Star Trek had been around for like 30 years before they started doing the really stupid story of a bunch of starships near each other just firing at each other point blank, and of course they're all getting destroyed because they're not battleships. They're not battleships. They can take sustained barrages. So they get into a really stupid situation. Again, this is one of those things. It's like I just kept thinking of Wrath of Khan. I was like, that was one ship against one ship, and it was freaking brilliant. It's like none of these ships should be within visual range of each other. They shouldn't be within, the distance from Earth to the sun. They should literally be hiding behind stars and like slingshotting, photon torpedoes around the event horizon, or so it curves, stuff like that, or transwarp beaming from across. Like, they're just firing at point blank, and it's really stupid. But so Burnham is put into the brig, and then we get a really cool battle, a lot of devastating battle, and all the decks are destroyed except for like all the way up into her cell. Her cell even has to shrink because part of the floor, part of the deck is been sheared off. So we get a really good story with Giorgio, who looks to be like a pretty good starship captain. She's basically dealing with this mess. She's trying diplomacy. We're getting there's this really good point where she's talking to the Klingons, and she's about to end with, "We come in peace." And the Klingon kind of leader, or, looks to be like the new Klingon messiah. She's getting to the point where she's going to say, "We come in peace." And he goes, "Here comes their lie." And that was really, really good writing. So we got to see some, Burnham getting dressed down, for a mutiny. We got to see her trial. We got to see some good space battles. I'm trying to think if there was any. Oh, we got to see her origin, which did confuse me because this was some bad Trek. It seemed like she came straight from the Vulcan Expeditionary Group, which I guess is like their version of Starfleet. straight to working on the Shenzhou. It didn't seem like she went to Starfleet. And she just went straight to the bridge and she's like, it's acceptable. And I was like, what? What's going on? Why did she not go to Starfleet? I know people have been saying like this is supposed to be canon. It's not supposed to be Kelvin timeline. But man, oh man, does this TV show fit in better with the Kelvin timeline? The Kelvin timeline, you're in a bar fight one day, you're in Starfleet Academy the next, and you're a freaking captain, 6 months after you hit Starfleet. So now it's like, why even go to the academy? Just get a recommendation. Like your dad got you a job at, the chicken restaurant that his old frat buddy owns. But overall, like I thought it was really good. There were some huge problems. The Starfleet thing, the just, treating Nimitz class ships like old, Spanish galleons. Like I'm surprised they didn't turn to the side and all these starboard portholes open and they push cannons out the side. But overall, I liked it. It had good pace. The effects were great. Burnham is not a Mary Sue. People were always telling Burnham what's wrong with her, and she's always getting in trouble. That is not a trait of a Mary Sue. The main actress is very compelling. She's a great actress. I wish they had the season 1 hairdo for her instead of this ridiculous Ed Grimley stupid hairdo she has in season 2. But I like it. Oh, and then at the end, Giorgio. So there's some really great twists where at one point the Klingon are retrieving their dead. So, geez, this Starfleet is pretty freaking cold-blooded. They beam a warhead from a photon torpedo right onto the chest of a dead Klingon warrior who's retrieved into the ship, which explodes. And then Giorgio and Burnham beam onto the Klingon ship to capture, I think, the Messiah, but it sounds like they'd probably go for capturing anyone. But I think they were trying to capture him. I don't know why they didn't take an away team or something like that, but people have been said, oh, it's these two, 100-pound women fighting Klingons, but they were fighting them, but they weren't winning. Giorgio got killed, and what happened with Burnham? Didn't Burnham get knocked down? I'm trying to remember what happened. I actually don't remember how the Messiah got killed. I watched it last night. But, they weren't, they were, I think I remember Giorgio trying some, karate kicks, and they just didn't work, and she just got stabbed straight through the chest. No. It was when that guy, the Messiah, stabbed Giorgio, and then Burnham shot him with a phaser. And then she went back and in true non-Mary Sue fashion was immediately court-martialed, sentenced to life in prison. I still don't get exactly how Starfleet can sentence you to life in prison. It seems like something that would... It's like NATO doesn't have prison. I always just think of Starfleet like NATO. But I guess, they really are like a military, so they can put you in their military prisons. But overall, I really liked it. I'm very interested in what's going to happen. We still haven't met Anthony Rapp's character, Stamets, or Tilly. And I think they're going to be on the Discovery. This Discovery still hasn't even showed up. It was just a Shenzhou, which got destroyed. But I like it. I really like it a lot. I'm very excited about watching the rest of the season. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about my reviews and Star Trek Discovery in general. And I'll have probably do one review every single day. Thanks for watching. Bye.